Right, final question. Are you ready?
Yeah!
On the road, not in DC now, we're in Mississippi.
We're not going to tax the life out of you. Come to Mississippi.
What's going on in Mississippi? It feels like it's a state on the up.
It's now the second fastest growing bit of the United States. Does it feel like that?
Yes, sir.
Americans are 40% richer than Brits.
Yes, we have a good time.
The North saved the Republic, and Mississippi will save the Republic now.
This is my first tailgate. I have never seen anything like this.
They don't have something like this in London.
No, nothing like this.
I think the best is yet to come.
I'm very glad that I wore a red tie.
Britain has to ask itself, is our way of life worth preserving?
It's going to be quite the party.
What can I say? Can't compete with that.
Hello, welcome to Harry Cole Saves the West. Not in Washington, D.C. tonight, but from Mississippi. Now, for as long as I can remember, Mississippi, this part of the Deep South, has been a byword for American poverty. But something's happening here, something remarkable. Mississippi is growing. Household incomes here grew by 6% last year, putting them the second highest growing state in the entire of America. It's a state on the up, and it's a state ripping up the old rules. How have they done it? Well, they've introduced a radical flat tax, they've shredded regulation, they've slashed energy bills, and they've reformed their education system. Along with neighbouring state Alabama, they're building more cars than the entire UK put together. Britain, meanwhile, is stuck in a doom loop. Crippling taxes, endless red tape, the cost of living crisis that just won't die. We're just told that's the way things are. But here, they're doing things differently. And we're here to talk to people the people driving this change, about how they've done it and what comes next.
So I'm afraid I couldn't wait. We've come to the Pig and Pint barbecue restaurant in Jackson, Mississippi. I've got my pig, I've got my ribs, I've got my brisket, I've got my PBR. Now, this cost me $20, which I think is a pretty reasonable price tag. Now, in 2007, the average American was 10% richer than the average British worker. Now, that's 40%. An astonishing statistic. Even in Mississippi, which is, on paper, one of the poorest parts of America. GDP per capita, that's per head, is bigger than in Britain. Now, economists quibble over the numbers and they say you can't make a like-for-like comparison. But if you strip out London, there is clear evidence that people in Mississippi are doing better than the average Brit. And the numbers are quite startling. $53,000 per capita, that's around £38,000. That's in Mississippi. That drops to £37,658 in Britain. Food for thought when we're looking at how Mississippi is getting growth going and Britain flatlines. We're going to look at how they're going to do it. But in the meantime, I'm going to eat my barbecue.
Business is good. Improving. Well, summer times are our busier times, so we're headed towards downslope, but still doing fine.
So you're busy every night?
Well, for the most part, it's kind of slowed down because it's an outside restaurant, and so it's kind of colder. But during the warm days, it's awesome. Very busy.
People feel like they've got money for eating out and drinking beer, eating barbecue.
Yeah, I love it here. I love my job.
How about the city and how about the state of Mississippi?
Mississippi City, girl, yes, I love Jackson. It's where I grew up in Blair. I don't like the state. I don't like the United States.
Do you feel like it's been a good year that Jackson is a wider city, Mississippi is a wider state?
State, I pretty much stick around here for the city, yeah. This is an up-and-coming neighborhood. There's another couple of up-and-coming neighborhoods, a lot of development, so yeah.
It has gotten safer over the past couple years.
Yeah.
They're really cracking down on like law enforcement and stuff like that. Police presence and things of that nature. I feel like it has gotten better over the years.
I see cranes, building developments, people moving here. Where are they moving from? Other bits of Mississippi or?
Mostly other parts of Mississippi. Some out of state, not of state.
You moved to Jackson. What made you move here?
To change my life, just to fresh start.
And is it a fresh start? This town feels like it's on paper. It feels like it's booming.
Yeah. As far as the restaurant, yes, sir.
What's the toughest? Is it wages? Is it taxes, bills?
I tell you, bills and taxes, really all of it. Economy is just horrible here.
On paper, it says that this part of the world has grown 6% in the last year. It's now the second fastest growing bit of the United States. Does it feel like that?
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Are you feeling that?
statistically, probably, yeah, probably it's because we're the hospitality state, so we have a lot of stuff to do with people and like, I don't know, pleasing people, like souls and food and stuff like that. So I just see how it would say that on paper, but it doesn't feel nothing.
What's bringing them to Jackson?
I guess.
Apart from the barbecue.
Yeah, development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And jobs?
Jobs because of development, yes.
Mississippi grew by 6% last year. It's the second fastest growing state in the whole of the United States.
Which I did not know.
Does it feel like it's a city on the up?
In certain neighborhoods, yes.
Yeah.
Like where we are here, fantastic neighborhood. This one, there's another neighborhood called Belle Even down the road. Very up and coming.
Has it got any easier over the last few years, or has it got on?
It's 50-50.
What's going well?
I feel like gas is better.
Yeah.
Gas is better. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I feel like gas is better, but wages could be a little higher.
The average Mississippian worker's better off than the average GDP. The size of the economy of that is per head bigger than the United Kingdom.
Actually, would surprise me.
Because it's traditionally a state associated bigger by medical table, but it's moving up.
Right. We've always kind of been forgotten, so
Yeah.
it's good to be acknowledged.
Welcome to Downing Street. Not London, but Jackson, Mississippi. But what policies from this Downing Street can they learn back home? Well, in 2021, the Mississippi state government embarked on a massive reform of the labour market. They made it easier to come and live and work in Mississippi. Qualifications from around America were recognised here so people could move here quickly and earn here. And it worked. The following year, they embarked on tax reform, introducing a 4% flat tax with plans to phase out income tax at a state level completely in the coming years. Following that, there was radical reform of the energy market, keeping bills down. And this year has been focused on education reform. But is it working? This remains in a very impoverished part of America, but business leaders insist it's going to trickle down. Gerard Gobert, you've made your life, your career, your business in this state. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I first of all love Mississippi. I am a son of the great state of Mississippi, born and raised here by two wonderful parents who nurtured me and mentored me and gave me a great home environment that I believe is the foundation for my business and professional success.
The story that people are picking up on here, though, is that one of the poorest states in the Union is seeing a remarkable amount of growth. It's the second fastest growing state last year, 6% on GDP. That's growing faster than California. How has it been done?
Well, first of all, Mississippians have a fantastic work ethic. So everybody pulls their weight, believes in contributing to the betterment of society. But I think that in landing many of these economic development projects and huge capital investments as we have the last few years, I think that's a function of these companies learning what we Mississippians have always known, that this is really a fantastic place to set up shop and do business. And the message is getting around, we're getting noticed, and when you get one breakthrough that and say, hey look, we think we're going to make an investment in Mississippi, other potential suitors pay attention to that, and I think what we've got is kind of a springboard, a cascading effect. I think the best is yet to come.
How much of that is down to the government and how much is that down to business? Because obviously Mississippians have had the biggest tax cut in their history 3 years ago, a 4% tax, flat tax across the state. The labour market reforms look to me like a sort of hotbed of free market reform experimentation. Has it worked? Are people feeling it, or is it just businesses that are happy?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would say about that is that we are still the poorest state from a per capita and household income perspective, but I believe that is about to turn. I think that we're about to ascend that ladder, and the way to do that is to grow the state's economy. In fact, it's my view it's the only way to do it. Now, this building back here, there are no laws they're going to pass that are going to eliminate poverty. There's just nothing that's going to happen. But what they can do is create the environment through responsible, good, conservative policy that encourages business investment and growth and promotes it. And as you said, in eliminating the state's income tax and really reducing the onerous regulations and shortcutting the permitting process, all of those policies have been critical in our landing this huge capital investment.
So 78,000 jobs have been created here in the last decade. A lot of them in the last, a lot of that proportion of that in the last 5 years. For listeners and viewers back in the United Kingdom, that's the equivalent of a town the size of Scunthorpe now employed. The benefits of that, in making it easier to people to move here from around the United States, the qualification bonfire of regulations, recognising statewide qualifications, is it working, or is there something else behind this growth?
No, I think it absolutely is working, and in addition to that, we need a skilled workforce as well. Employers demand that. There's been a huge focus in the state of Mississippi on the part of the education community and the government as well to really focus on workforce development. We have great programs in the state. We have fantastic world-class community colleges and institutions of higher learning. They're turning out unbelievably qualified, very talented graduates.
And are the jobs there for them, or are you training people here and then they're leaving Mississippi?
Yeah, so that's an issue. We still have a significant amount of brain drain, but we're starting to turn that around by landing businesses that do require the sort of skills that our schools are turning out. Our community colleges and our K through 12 institutions, though, are highly focused on training the students for the jobs that are available in the state of Mississippi. And most importantly, what I've seen in Mississippi that I'm so proud of is this collaboration between the educational community and the private sector. There was a time when there was a firewall between those. The education establishment just taught whatever they wanted, whether or not that's what we needed in the workforce or not. And we had private sector employers saying, well, you guys are turning out people that can't do the jobs we need. They're working together now to create curricula that I think are preparing students for the jobs of the future.
One of the most interesting reforms that's going on behind the scenes, behind those doors behind us and across this state, is on the education reforms, allowing parents and communities and businesses to bypass the state, essentially, to take their pupils out of the state system, but allow them to continue to access taxpayer-funded, I think it's about $7,500 per pupil per year. That's a pretty radical reform. But does it encapsulate the sort of idea of actually just getting the state out of the way and letting people on the ground decide how best to spend taxpayers' money?
We have made some minor strides in what you're referring to. We call it school choice, of course. We've made some minor strides there, but we've stopped short of the neighboring states of implementing and enacting universal school choice. Our Speaker of the House is highly focused on that. It is a priority. Our governor is fully behind it. We still have some challenges in our Senate with the Lieutenant Governor to get that through. That's going to be front and center, the top issue in the legislature this year. I personally believe that parents and caretakers are better suited to make decisions about the education of their child than the government is. And right now, we're attaching them to a public school based on their address, nothing more but their address. We've got to do what the president would like to see done, what our neighboring states have done, and implement full universal school choice.
What do you say to organisations like the European Union, my own home country of the United Kingdom, who seem to be hurtling in the other direction? They're putting up taxes, they are increasing regulation, they're making it harder to move around countries and recognise qualifications. Would you say Mississippi is a sort of example of how to do it compared to ever-increasing, burdening state interventions?
Yeah, without a question. The less the government is involved in the private sector, the more productive and the more robust will the private sector be. We still have a lot of work to do there, but I think good conservative lawmakers, both at the state and federal level, understand that. I've always believed as a business person, as an entrepreneur, that it's faith, confidence, and certainty. That's what drives risk-taking, investment, job creation, wealth creation. The same as one would operate their household. If you don't have confidence about your future in your household, you tend to hunker down and not make big-time purchasing decisions. But when you have confidence And I think that passing the Trump tax cuts, enacting those, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act as it is known, that made those permanent, I think we're going to reap the rewards of that really getting underway next year. And the same in Mississippi.
Are people feeling it though? Obviously, we've discussed it's obviously still a very poor part of the United States. It's still one of the poorest states, despite that economic growth. People say, yeah, you know, they see some improvement, but they're still struggling. They say the only thing that's going for them is the price of gasoline, and if it wasn't for that, they'd be in real trouble. Prices, groceries are still high. The cost of living is high. How do you sell these technical sort of business reforms to ordinary people on the street who, you know, would listen to you about everything going well and brilliantly and think, well, hang on, my household income isn't looking so good. I don't have that confidence.
Yeah. So here's the deal. We have, I think, arrested this runaway inflation when we had the 9% inflation in 2022 under the Biden administration, really bad policies that drove that.
And the COVID and the cost of energy.
That's right. All the above contributed to that. But now we're at about 3%, still a little too high for our liking. We'd like to get that down to what's known as the normal rate of 2%. That's what the Fed's looking for. But if we can keep it at that level while our economy grows, and as our economy grows, so do wages. So we get to a situation where we experience what's called growth in real wages. That's inflation-adjusted wages. I don't think we've yet started to experience the benefits of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and other policies that are going to contribute to that. This explosion of artificial intelligence that's driving lots of capital investment and job creation in this country. We haven't begun to realize that.
But could you ever imagine, you know, when you were starting a business here 20, 30 years ago, that that Mississippi would have a higher GDP per capita than the powerhouses of manufacturing in Europe?
No, I would not. And I think that's a testament to the state of Mississippi and this country adopting more free market policies, whereas what we've seen in the EU is just the opposite. They've gone in the other direction.
We tried to get out. We tried, but we didn't do the reforms required.
Just seems like they're more reliant on government.
That must make you incredibly proud, though.
It's yes, there's no doubt. It's a point of incredible pride. And in the state of Mississippi, again, even though we still lag with respect to per capita and household income, I actually believe that we're going to come off the bottom. I think that the economic growth that we're experiencing, I have an idea that I've promoted on my show in the past, and I've talked about it in this building behind us privately, is that in both of the chambers behind us, I think we ought to install giant digital signage that continuously displays the state's household income, median household income, and per capita income, and our national rank. And every piece of legislation that these lawmakers consider that comes before them, they should look at that sign and determine how's that going to affect that, because that's when Mississippi will truly achieve its fullest potential. I think we're well on our way.
What do you say to someone, you know, a young thruster who's being taxed out of existence, has a new socialist mayor in New York who's only going to put taxes up further, rents are incredibly expensive? What do you say to a young entrepreneur or a young business person looking to make their life? You know, Mississippi's clearly the way to do it.
Come to Mississippi, where you don't have to deal with all that. We're not going to tax the life out of you. That's the first thing. We want you to succeed. We want you to thrive. We want you to create jobs. We want you to produce wealth and economic activity. So here's the way I describe it. We want to grow the pie. What we're witnessing in New York, and really I think it's kind of integral to the Democrat economic mantras, they just look at recarving the pie. They never talk about expanding.
Well, slice ever-increasing amounts off the top of the pie, right?
That's exactly right, in their personal pockets often. But we want to talk about expanding the pie, not just recutting the pie. And that's what they're talking about in New York. I actually believe that Mamdani was kind of swept into office, not because the voters, especially the young voters, and not that they support government-run socialism of the economy. What they really want is what I call transferism. They just want, you got more money than me, give me some of yours.
Well, you can make the case, though.
They don't want to surrender their freedoms.
But you can make the case, though, and people on the right are starting to make this case, is, well, how can you defend capitalism when you have no stake in it? You know, if you can't get a house, you can't raise a family, you can't get the job you wanted, you're being taxed out of existence, you've been sold a pup on to take out massive amounts of graduate debt for a job that lands you in a job that you could have got without a degree anyway, and then you're saddled with this huge amounts of debt. Making the case for capitalism is as important, or making people feel part of that system that brings people up, is where the right have got this wrong over the years.
Yeah, I think that
especially younger people.
What's missing in that is that we have ventured too far to the left, and we have allowed government to insert itself too much in our capitalistic system. You made the reference to education. Education wasn't all that expensive until the government got involved in it. So all the other aspects of what you were discussing that are, I guess, preventing those in this country from realizing and experiencing the benefits and bounty of capitalism, that's because there's too much government involvement. Get out of the way, government, and let the markets work. You know, there was a famous economist who said, capitalism is really a challenging economic system, except it's just better than all the others. So what do they want? Government to come in and control it more? That's what you've experienced in the EU, and I don't think that's worked out very well. So we need to get government to back out of our economy and of our lives and let people produce and pursue happiness.
Well, it's certainly hopefully working here in Mississippi. Gerard, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Harry.
So that was Jackson, the state capital of Mississippi. We're going to hit the road now, head out into the Magnolia State, because while the economy is booming, something else is booming in this state at the moment, and that is college football. And I'm off to my first tailgate. Don't go anywhere. So, welcome back to Harry Cole Saves the West. We're on the road. Not in DC now, we're in Mississippi. We're leaving the capital, Jackson. We've left the capital, we've driven past an absolutely massive Nissan factory. We're heading north, up to the engine room of this free market experiment into getting growth going in Mississippi, the second fastest growing state in the United States. How are they doing it? We're going to go to the University of Mississippi, where these policies are being dreamt up. Talk to some people up there. But our timing is very good, because before we get into all that, we get to go to the college football game. It's Ole Miss versus Florida tonight, and it sounds like it's going to be quite the party. So where else would you be on a Saturday afternoon in Mississippi, other than the Ole Miss game? University of Mississippi, Universio, known as Ole Miss, having a good season. We're waiting for the team to come down the Avenue of Champions, then we're going to have a drink. So the team arriving here. The economy isn't the only thing growing in this state. University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, student applications are up 18%. Something else is going on here, and it ain't just the economy. People want to come and learn, study here. Some people, they say they're escaping the woke that's infested other universities. You ain't getting any of that at Ole Miss. Game is still hours away. There are tens of thousands of people pre-gaming, as they call it in Britain, tailgating, as they call it in America. Families, friends, students. It feels like the entire state of Mississippi is here at the famous Grove. Tents are up. It's like a cross between a music festival and Ascot with more beer, I have to say. It is an astonishing sight to see, and I'm very glad that I wore a red tie. Go Rebels! Oh no, I quite like the trucker hat in the middle, the black one.
Ooh, that does look pretty nice.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
Is that the one? All right. I kind of need a red one.
Too big.
What about the grey one with the Ole Miss logo, the trucker hat there? What do you reckon? All right, we'll take one. And the navy one with the red M, please. Producer Vic. Yeah.
They're fitted.
Mississippi, second fastest growing state in the union. How's that feel?
Feels good.
feels good knowing that. Didn't know it before, but I believe that most of us around here, we just keep our heads down, we work hard, and hey, that's where it shows.
Mississippi, fun place to live, good place to live.
Yeah,
Would you
amazing
stay in
place to
Mississippi
live.
and work, or would you
Come
go
to
back?
Mississippi.
So Mississippi is the second fastest growing state in the entire United States. Why do you think that is?
Oxford.
Yeah, this is the centerpiece of it.
Yes.
The football helps.
Yes, the football does help. It's
Why
the
did
best
you-
place in the world.
Why did you choose Ole Miss over anywhere else in the United States? Are you local?
Well, the growth, 100%.
It is the best time to ever have been a Mississippian, as you can see right here. So thank y'all for coming by.
And is the economy in the state doing better than it used to?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And you can feel that?
Yes, absolutely.
Who do you put that down to? The federal government, the state government, business people?
All of the above.
All of them. And the Ole Miss College as well? University?
When you look at what our chancellor and what our athletic director have done, I mean, nobody's doing better than we are.
What's going on in Mississippi? It feels like it's a state on the up.
Shotgun and beers.
Yeah.
Manufacturing's coming back.
Yeah.
That's about it.
The economy's improving.
Oh my God.
Mississippi, rebels are rocking. Trump's president. Let's go.
Second fastest growing state in the entire United States. Do you feel that?
I absolutely feel
I
that.
feel it.
You can feel it right here. You can feel it in the energy. It's electricity coming through
13
us.
hours and we feel it. It's on the up.
Not just the football, but the economy as a state.
Everything's going up. It's the best here.
So you guys, freshmen
Freshman, yes.
from Mississippi,
From Mississippi.
go to university in Mississippi, born and raised. Will you ever leave Mississippi?
No.
No. Best bit of America?
Yeah.
Does it feel like a state that's on the up?
Yes. So absolutely, it's on the up.
And you feel like you'll be able to get a job here, raise a family here?
Oh, absolutely.
Student here?
I am.
What made you choose Mississippi?
I love the SEC and Ole Miss. It's probably the best option.
What are you studying?
I was studying sales.
Very good. And will you stay in Mississippi when you graduate? Do you think there's enough jobs here?
Maybe.
And will you stay in Mississippi for your whole life?
All my life. Oxford till I die.
Mississippi's second fastest growing state in the entire United States. What do you think's behind that?
Get them all out. Get all those Jersey kids out of here.
Too many Jersey kids?
Too many Jersey kids. I don't like it.
Why do you think they want to come here? They're escaping the woke up north?
Yeah, because it sucks. I mean, they're voting communists out.
That wouldn't happen in Mississippi.
Never in my life.
And you're going to win tonight?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Go Reds! Let's go! Let's go!
Why did you choose Mississippi? Did you grow up here?
No, I'm from Texas.
You're from Texas? Whereabouts are you from?
We're from Kansas City, Missouri.
And why did you come to Ole Miss?
I fell in love with the campus and the atmosphere here. 100%. It's an awesome place to be.
It doesn't feel like the most woke place I've ever been. It's quite traditional. Do you like that?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Very traditional.
And would you say stay in Mississippi after you graduated, or would you?
I would 1000% say yes. It's an awesome
Why?
place. I just love it. I love Oxford. I met so many people from Mississippi that I just love and fell in love with.
Mississippi is a state. It's the second fastest growing state in the entire United States. Do you think you'd find the right jobs here?
Yes, I 1000% think that. There's a lot. The market's definitely growing a lot for a lot of different jobs.
And cheaper to live here than other places?
Yeah, I live here over other places. I know they're investing a lot in the public education in Mississippi right now, so that's like a big factor why I live here.
And cutting taxes.
And taxes, yeah, that's always good. Yeah, exactly.
So it's your last ever game, Ole Miss game?
Yes.
So you're graduating this year?
Yes.
Are you going to win tonight?
Yes, let's go!
So now you're graduating, will you stay in Mississippi and work, or are you going to... Where are you going? Why not?
here.
Why?
Texas. Mississippi's beautiful, but there's like a whole big wide world you gotta go see. We've been here 4 years already. I want to leave.
Are you worried that you wouldn't be able to find the right jobs here?
No, I think I'd find a job pretty easily, actually. Yeah.
I've been here for 10 years.
Wow. And how's it changed in those 10 years?
Drastically. It's been the biggest change, even just the population and what they're building, everything's just a big change, but it's for the better, I feel.
And there's more opportunities here than there used to be?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Good. All right, well, and you're going to win tonight, yeah?
Yes, sir.
I hope so. Go Hotty Toddy.
Hotty Toddy.
Hotty Toddy. Good luck.
All right,
Thanks, guys.
Let's go. Let's go. Johnny News. This is not just it's not just a state that is on the up and on the economics. It's a state that's on the up tonight. They think they're going to win. It's definitely a state that knows how to party. And unless you were here at the Grove tonight, I cannot really explain quite how crazy it is here. These kids know how to party. Their parents know how to party. We had a massive cross section of society. Feels like the whole state of Mississippi is here tonight. They're having fun. Lots of students here say they're going to make a life for themselves in Mississippi. They won't be leaving. They're sensing the opportunities in this state. But in the meantime, they're also getting on it. So, I mean, are you ready? Are you ready? Hotty toddy seems to be the cry. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Harry Cole Saves the West. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. You won't miss a thing from my adventures across the Deep South. We're here in Oxford, Mississippi. It's the morning after the big game. The private jets are taking off overhead as people leave, fly back to other parts of America, fly back to other parts of Mississippi after a stonking win for Ole Miss last night against their rivals, Florida. Now, I've travelled to the Deep South and bumped into an old friend, Douglas Carswell, former Tory MP, former UKIP MP, and now a driving force behind what's going on in the great state of Mississippi. How did you get here?
Well, it's wonderful to be here. I wanted to come to America, and I wanted to come to a southern state because I think the really interesting innovations in American public policy come from states, often from southern states. I spent many years as a member of parliament trying to persuade notional conservatives to do conservative things, and I didn't really get that far. Okay, admittedly, we managed to get them to do the right thing, Brexit, but they did all the wrong things on tax and energy policy and so much else.
And didn't take advantage of those Brexit freedoms.
Absolutely, they failed to take advantage of the opportunities of Brexit. I wanted to come to somewhere where there's a real appetite to do the right thing, the right conservative policy, to implement free market reform. And I can't help noticing that something interesting is happening in the south of the US. It's not just companies like Tesla relocating to Texas. It's not just fund managers moving from the Northeast to Florida. There seems to be this shift in the US South. It seems to be becoming the economic and technological and cultural hub of the country, and I wanted to be part of it and help make that happen.
And it seems to be working. I mean, we've been travelling across the state these last few days. Second fastest growing state in the union. People are talking about the buzz. The tailgate yesterday at the Ole Miss game was like something I'd never experienced before. There is something happening down here, right?
Absolutely, there really is something happening down here, economically and culturally.
We'll talk about the culture in a second, but on the economics, you work in public policy here. The state backs Mississippi Public Policy Institute. You obviously have a front row seat in exactly what they're doing here. Something is clearly working. What do you attribute it to? Government or people?
Free market reforms. Mississippi is the best advertisement for free market reforms I know of, even better than I think than Argentina. Mississippi's had more economic growth in the past 5 years than in the previous 15 years combined. Why? Because Mississippi is doing the right thing. Mississippi used to be quite a highly regulated, high tax protectionist state. In the past 5 years, we, Mississippi, have, number one, deregulated the labor market. It's incredibly flexible now. You can hire and fire people at will here. You can walk out of a job on the spot. We have cut taxes. In 2022, we made sure that the income tax became a flat 4% income tax as a first step towards income tax elimination. This year, we then passed a law that will eliminate the state income tax completely.
When will that kick in?
It will probably take about 7 or 8 years.
There are other zero tax states not far from here in the scale of things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Texas, Florida, and Tennessee have no income tax, but we're the first state to eliminate an income tax, having had an income tax, we're the first state to eliminate it since oil-rich Alaska in 1980. So it's big news. We're leading on tax reform and tax cuts.
Were these hard fights to get through the state legislature, to get through the community, to get through the state? Was it? Have you got the scars on your back of these battles, or is there an appetite to? This was and remains a very poor part of America. People want change.
These are tough fights to have. But if I can say, compared to the Brexit fight, it's relatively straightforward. You don't have a sort of hysterical liberal establishment wailing about it. The issue is to make sure that people who are notionally conservative do actual conservative things. Inertia is the biggest problem that we face. People, wanting to just plod along and keep things the way they are. But I think there's, amongst a younger generation of Mississippian, there's an appetite for change. There's a realization that we're surrounded by states that are doing phenomenally well. Texas is no longer about, hee-haw cowboys and oil. Texas is about rockets and satellites and
data centers
and AI. And people, I think, in Mississippi want part of that. So there's a restlessness amongst Mississippi leadership now.
Does that rivalry between the states, a natural competition, help when you're trying to do you peer over the border and go, well, Alabama have done this, so why aren't we doing this?
It's absolutely the secret of America's success.
Which is ironically the opposite of what happens in the European Union. It's well, these guys are regulating over here into this, so we must immediately bind on to their regulations and bringing everyone into the same.
Absolutely. In America, you have literally 50 different laboratories of how to do things. People trying to do things a little bit differently in Florida to how they're doing them in Seattle.
And attract people to come to those places when it works.
And you see where it works. And I'm part of an organization called the State Policy Network. Our think tank is part of that. And we get together once a year and we shamelessly steal ideas that work from neighbouring states.
So you've done the labour reforms, the exact opposite to what Britain is undertaking right now. It used to be Angela Rayner's bill, it's now...
And it literally is the opposite. It literally is the
opposite. So whereas Britain is suddenly trying to make it harder to fire people, harder to employ people, more expensive to employ people, you guys are doing the exact opposite. And lo and behold, you have 6% growth last year.
6% household income growth in a single year. It's phenomenal.
I mean, we could argue about we've been talking about the GDP comparison between per capita GDP comparison in Mississippi to the UK. Economists argue it's not a direct contrast, but it's clear that they have now overtaken, heading towards Germany. What's your advice to people back home in the old country that this bill is on the statute to do the exact opposite to what Mississippi is doing, and growth bumping around at what, 1% if we're lucky?
Britain's not had per capita growth for nearly a decade, nearly 2 decades. And I think this is because Britain has exhausted the Blairite orthodoxies that you can tax and regulate an economy, but induce growth with monetary stimulus. You just can't do that any longer. So Britain, I think, has to make a fundamental choice. Does it want to become a medium income country, and it's well on its way now to becoming a medium income country? When I was first elected to the House of Commons, the average American was 10% richer than the average Briton. Today, the average American is 40% richer than the average Briton.
A stat I've stolen shamelessly from you and used throughout my visit to Mississippi. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, just while we're on what you guys are doing here, the education reforms. They seem very radical. They seem very new. They also, if people are old enough to remember when the Conservatives tried to do this maybe 20, 30 years ago in the United Kingdom, this idea of a voucher scheme that if you take your child out of the state system, in the UK it would be through private schools, but here it's through community schools or faith schools or even homeschooling, you still get that $7,500, I think it is, roughly, to spend on your child as you see fit with the curriculum of your choice. There was an attempt to try and do that in the UK. It was very controversial.
When?
I think the Tories in opposition in the early 2000s floated this, along with voucher schemes of the NHS and a sort of tax rebate that if you use private healthcare or if you use private education, you get your tax. You can claim it against your tax bill. Is that where we are here?
That's not quite the way I remember it. I remember offering Michael Gove when we were in opposition and he was in charge of education.
I think this might even be pre-Michael Howard. It was sort of Michael Howard era, maybe 2005-ish, yeah.
I mean, the Conservatives in opposition had the opportunity to introduce the idea of school choice and they rejected it. They preferred to do what Conservatives in many parts of the world try to do, which is to manage the schools better. And you can do that to some extent. You can insist on teaching with phonics, for example. But the real game changer is parent power, giving families control over their budgets. Now, Mississippi is now surrounded on all four sides by states that give families control over their budgets. If the British Conservatives had used their time in government to give families control over their budgets, no Labour government under Keir Starmer would ever be able to undo their reforms. Tragically, what's happened now in Britain is 14 years of Conservative improvements in education have been undone in less than a year of Labour.
Stroke of a pen. So how would it work here? I mean, even here it's contentious reform. It is being debated heavily currently. What's the exact model that you're pursuing here on the education front?
What we're doing is we're going to give parents control over their share of Mississippi state funding. Now, every child in Mississippi gets about $14,000 a year.
Right.
About half of that is state money.
Right.
Some of that is federal money, which you can't touch. Some of that is very local money. And we don't think you should be moving very local money around. But state money, Mississippi state government money, we would give every family control over their child's share, which would be about $7,000 a year. And you can buy a lot. The average school fees in Mississippi is less than the average private school fees in Mississippi is less than $7,000 a year.
So you'd see a big movement from children going from the state sector to the private sector.
Partly that. I think you would also see badly run school districts asking themselves why it is that they're losing students and what it is that the private schools are doing differently that they need to emulate.
So sort of free schools on steroids, really. You could end up seeing sort of new schools set up by parents with that local funding.
Very much, and that's very much the hope that you
And is the education establishment? I mean, the education establishment across the West is one of the most organised and left-wing.
The teacher unions hate
it.
The teacher unions hate
because they lose control.
Yeah. I mean, turkeys don't vote for Christmas or Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving still happens.
Before we move on to the cultural shift here, I just want to get on that point about what Britain can learn, what the West can learn from Mississippi, what Europe can learn from Mississippi. I think the EU may be a lost cause, but perhaps Britain could pick up on some of this stuff. You wrote a book, I remember, called The Plan. This had a lot of this stuff in it. You and Daniel Hannan wrote this book called The Plan. It had a lot of these ideas in it of deregulation and taking advantage of Brexit. It was sort of branded Singapore-on-Thames by its critics. But have you sort of just given up on Britain and just implemented the plan here? Is that what you've done?
I sometimes feels like it, actually. I feel that many ideas that I tried to find an audience for in Britain amongst Conservatives, I found a ready audience for here. And it's quite interesting here when I talk to lawmakers in the state capital, there's a willingness to take on board some of these ideas. And often lawmakers will say, great, help me draft a bill, let's do this.
And are you pushing back the other way? Are you showing your old comrades back in London and Britain that this stuff works, right? This is the Petri dish. This is the free market experiment.
Britain is going to recover. I mean, it's going to take a long time, it's going to be a tough fight, but Britain, I have no doubt, will recover. When, not if that recovery comes, a lot of it will be inspired by the example, not of America in terms of the White House, not America in terms of Washington, D.C., but America in terms of what the southern states are doing. Yeah. If you look at what the southern states are doing on tax, education, energy, labour market reform, that is a model that Britain is going to have to follow.
Or go bankrupt.
Britain has been in this situation before in the late 70s.
Look at the polls. It's your old comrade and old mucker Nigel Farage who
represents my old seat.
Who represents your old seat, who's surging ahead in these polls. Do you think that he will have the mandate, or could have the mandate, and would reform have the ability, the political capital to take on, as you say, that screaming liberal establishment, the BBC, the Guardian, the Blob,
the judges, the civil servants.
Exactly. It's going to take quite a big bang. The last time someone tried to do a big bang, it was Liz Truss. It went badly wrong. Are you confident that there's politicians on the pitch in Britain that could get this stuff done?
This is what really worries me. It's not just a case of an incoming government, whether it's a Robert Jenrick Conservative Party or a Nigel Farage Reform Party.
Or an Andy Burnham Labour Party.
Who knows? I don't really care who does it, but if a new government comes in and wants to do the right thing on energy policy, taxation, labour market deregulation, all of these things, it's not enough to want to do it. You need to have a plan to tackle the judges and the senior civil servants who will do everything to try to stop you. I think you need, if you're serious about these, to have a plan to tackle the blob, the administrative
Up
state.
front before you
Yes.
even go in. And it is not so much an economic revolution as a cultural one as well.
The reason why this part of America is doing well is not just because there are policy wonks like me who come up with wonky ideas. Fundamentally, the people that lead these states believe morally that their way of life is worth preserving. And Britain has to ask itself, is our way of life worth preserving? Only they can answer that. If the answer to that is yes, you can do all of these things. But if the answer to that is, well, don't know, maybe, then you've got a real problem.
And culturally here, that buzz isn't just about, people to glaze over when you talk to them in stats, but there's a little bit of considering around, we're in Oxford, Mississippi here, this is the engine room of this
the
resurgence.
epicenter of the Southern Revival.
Exactly, but there's money in this town, right? It's clear about that. We see private jets taking off from the airport here. People came in to see the game last night, now flying back to other parts of the state. Obviously, there are still massive amounts of poverty in Mississippi. We saw some of that on the outskirts of Jackson when we were there earlier in the week. But there is something happening here again on a cultural front as well.
Something's happening, and it's a story that can't just be told by talking about economic stats. It is a cultural thing at heart. I think the really important thing to understand is that for years Americans have been told by the progressive left that the future of America is more secular and more rational. It turns out that actually secular rationalism is a one-generation thing, and it's
the
a
blip.
path to nowhere.
We talk about this on the show a lot, this blip. We're going to look back in 20, 30 years at the sort of COVID era and the 5 to 10 years running up to that, where everyone just went a bit mental.
Secular rationalism turned out to be rather irrational. They ended up believing in the cult of climate change and St. Greta Thunberg and goodness knows what else. So I think to understand what's happening in America, come to places like Mississippi and see young Americans from out of Mississippi, from out of the South, young Americans from the Northeast, from the Midwest, from the West Coast, choosing to come to a place that is culturally conservative. Why? Because there is something purposeful and meaningful here.
And it's not just religion, it's the whole culture, isn't it?
It's absolutely. When you saw young Mississippians, or rather young non-Mississippians, joining in the chants of Old Miss.
Well, last night, exactly. We spoke to dozens and dozens of people.
They're being part of something bigger than themselves. They're drawing on a sense of identity that is bigger than the content of their social media feed. And that is the future of America. People want this.
Is it causing some tension though? Because some of the Mississippians, the younger Mississippians we spoke to last night, yes, a couple of them had a few beers, I'm not disputing that, but they were like, the South needs to be protected. The South must remain the South. We don't want these Jersey kids
There's a very strong feeling, and you get this a lot in Texas, and you get it a lot in Florida and Tennessee as well. It's fine for people from the Northeast and the West Coast to move here, but don't bring your politics.
Right.
And I think in a town like Mississippi, where you've got young people from out of the South coming in, there's very much a feeling of, please come here, but adopt the Southern way, the Southern civility, the Southern mindset, and maybe the Southern morality too, because it's not atavistic and antiquated. It is the future of a happy, self-perpetuating society.
Yeah, because you see, I mean, every election cycle, Texas goes a little bit closer to going blue. People are moving out of cities and the coast and into Central America. It will fundamentally change the politics.
I don't think it will. I actually think if you take an even broader picture, zoom out even further, Florida and Texas at one time were very marginal states. And people assumed that they would become more marginal because as the Hispanic population increased, it would inevitably tilt those states Democrat.
Yeah.
Actually, what happened is when Southern Republicans gave second and third generation Hispanic Americans school choice, they created a new coalition of new American conservatives. We had the governor of Florida here in Mississippi yesterday, and he now
wasn't just coming to poach your Ole Miss coach, though, was he?
Yeah, I think they were coming here to look for football glory. And
He was the only other guy. He was the only other guy at the tailgate in a suit as well.
Well, it was not a great night for Governor DeSantis, but actually Governor DeSantis has a phenomenal record of winning elections because he can count on the support of second and third generation Americans who have school choice. Margaret Thatcher created a coalition by giving ordinary people the ability to buy their council house. Americans in Florida and other southern states are creating a rock-solid Republican coalition by giving families school choice.
And you think school choice is at the centre of this? This is
absolutely the driver.
This is the future, so to speak, not just the kids.
It's not only because it helps raise standards. It doesn't only just help with phonics and all that other stuff. It doesn't just create a workforce for the future. It creates a culturally conservative American generation that reject woke ideology in the classroom.
Final question: in 10 years' time, if you get your school reforms through this year, in this year's session, you get it over the line, see off the unions, see off the lieutenant governor. What does Mississippi look like in 10 years' time?
I think Mississippi will be, in many ways, reminiscent of North Carolina and Georgia. There would have been a lot of growth, a lot of incomers, a lot of change, but I think, like those states, they would have kept that essentially Southern culture, and that Southern culture and that commitment to social conservatism but genuine free market conservatism. I think that's the future. We all know, sitting here in the middle of Mississippi, that 160, 70 years ago, the North saved the Republic. It's the South and states like Mississippi that will save the Republic now.
So that's it for my adventures in the Deep South, in Mississippi, in the petri dish of free market reforms that appear to be working for some. Whether it'll work for everyone remains to be seen over the years. As Douglas Carswell said, the South will save the Union like the North once did, and could perhaps save Europe, could perhaps save Britain, if these policies are proven to work and implemented across the West. We're heading back to DC now. We'll be back in the studio. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. You won't miss a thing. See you later.